The Black Death, Death's harvest. They said it began in the east, carried on the backs of merchants and rats, drifting with the winds of trade. But when it reached us, it came not like a whisper, but like a scream. The year was thick with famine already, and the earth gave little. Then came the sickness, and with it the harvest of death. At first it was a cough, a fever, a swelling beneath the arm or at the groin. A passing sickness, they said, and still the markets bustled, still the churches tolled. But the swellings grew, black as coal, hard as stone. The body burned with fever until the tongue cracked, and the victims screamed until their voice broke. Then blood came, thick and dark, from mouth, nose, and every orifice, as if life itself was leaking out. And then the silence. The death was swift, sometimes a day, sometimes 3, but never longer. A man might walk to market in the morning, clutching his grain, and by night he would be sprawled in the mud, the rats picking at him before the bell even tolled. Women carried children in their arms, only for their flesh to rot before milk soured in the breast. Strong men, priests, nobles, all were struck alike. Death cared for no rank, no gold, no prayers. The streets filled with carts, the death wagons they called them. Men with scarves wrapped over their mouths trudged through the lanes, shouting, "Bring out your dead! Bring out your dead!" Doors opened, bodies dragged out like sacks of grain, dumped atop one another until the carts sagged with the weight. The wheels cut deep into the mud, trailing blood and rot through the alleys. They said the stench carried for miles. Graves could not be dug fast enough. The churchyards overflowed, bones pushed from the soil, coffins stacked like kindling. At last, they dug great pits, charnel pits, bottomless mouths of the earth. Into them, they threw the dead in heaps, layer upon layer, lime tossed to mask the stench, though nothing could mask it truly. At night, I heard the moans of widows, the screams of children, the prayers of priests who themselves would soon fall silent. And where the living feared the dead, they feared the living even more. Neighbors turned against neighbors, refusing to touch, refusing to speak. Fathers abandoned their sons, mothers their daughters. Whole families barred their doors and starved rather than risk the pestilence. The rich fled to the countryside, but there too the sickness followed, silent as the night wind, crawling under doors, into beds, into lungs. I saw the doctors, the so-called plague doctors, with their long leather coats and masks shaped like the beak of a bird. In those beaks they stuffed herbs and vinegar-soaked cloth, believing it would filter the air. They walked like black carrion birds among us, poking at the dying, marking the doors with painted crosses. But their herbs rotted, their sticks broke, and still they fell, their bodies dragged to the same pits as ours. The priests said it was God's punishment. Some cried it was the end of days. And so came the flagellants, half-mad men who stripped to the waist and beat themselves bloody in the streets. Whips cracked, flesh tore, blood spattered the stones as they marched, chanting hymns, begging forgiveness. Crowds followed, weeping, wailing, believing pain would wash the sin away. But the plague did not care for their prayers. It spread among them as easily as among thieves and whores. Others sought blame. Whispers grew that it was the work of the Jews, poisoning wells, conjuring curses. And so mobs gathered, torches raised, dragging whole families from their homes. I saw them burned in their synagogues, hanged from trees, drowned in rivers. Screams echoed, flesh sizzled, and still the pestilence raged on. Innocence burned with the guilty, and the streets grew darker still. And yet the rats thrived, black shadows with glinting eyes, their bellies fat with grain and corpses. They scurried over the bodies, across the rafters, gnawing and breeding. The fleas leapt from their hides to ours, unseen messengers of the pestilence. The people prayed, whipped, burned, and killed, but they never saw the true army that marched among them on tiny, silent legs. The world itself seemed to wither. Fields lay untended, harvests rotted, villages emptied. Wolves prowled the outskirts of towns, feeding on the unburied. The air was heavy, foul with smoke and decay, and silence spread. No bells, no laughter, no markets, only the toll of death and the caw of crows. I write this now in a town that is no town at all. The streets are empty, the wells dry, the houses locked and silent. My neighbors lie in the pit beyond the walls, their faces gnawed clean. I am the last. My breath grows short, my skin burns, and beneath my arm I feel the black swelling rising. Perhaps I shall be found tomorrow, dragged to the cart, flung upon the heap. Or perhaps not, for there are few left to drag and fewer still to bury. No matter, I feel death's hand upon me already. It is not cruel, it is simply hunger. Hunger that does not end. The Black Death walks among us, and it will walk long after I am gone. For it is the only true king of this world, and we are all its harvest.